Hi, everyone. Today we're going to go right back to the baby boomers again, only because I went on ChatGPT to find out what it is that we did to not want them to take advice from us, how we ruined their lives, and how whatever it was we did to upset the younger generations. So, that's what we're going to do today. If you notice now, I have a new little contraption here, the microphone, and that is because the sound inside of my house echoes, and it was really getting difficult to do videos in here. And then I realized that I probably needed a microphone, and so I purchased one. Now to get on to what did GPT say? And so I am going to give you the rundown on it. The first thing that it's saying is economic inequality in the housing market. They're saying that when boomers were younger, housing was far more affordable compared to today. I don't know about that. We made a lot less money and houses were probably still expensive. Many baby boomers were able to buy homes in their 20s or 30s. Now, I'm going to tell you that I did. I got married at 19 years old, and we bought a house 6 years after I graduated in 73. So in 79 is when we bought our first house. And it was the absolute worst time. The interest rate at that time was 11.20%. So even at today's rate of 6.74%, we paid a heck of a lot for a lot longer than you would today, even though I'm going to agree the house prices are ridiculous nowadays. Absolutely ridiculous. I don't know how anybody's going to be able to do this, but I've been saying that for years, that I don't know how young people are going to manage. So that's the first thing that they're upset about, when they don't realize that it was just as difficult for us starting out as it was for them. And we were a lot younger starting out. This has led to the perception that the baby boomer generation has had it easier in terms of securing financial stability through things like real estate. Then it was wages versus cost of living. The cost of living, especially in terms of housing, education, and healthcare, has risen at a much faster rate than wages now over the past few decades. Normal prices go up, salaries go up. I mean, it's happened for years. It's not something we did. For millennials and Gen Z, it feels like they're working harder but not getting the same level of economic mobility that their parents or grandparents had. They see boomers in jobs that paid much better relative to the cost of living, and often don't understand why they can't achieve similar success. My first job, which I had at 15 and a half, was in a grocery store, and I was paid $1.10 an hour. $1.10, folks. And I know all of you out there know that. All you baby boomers, you know what we used to get paid. By the time I graduated, we got a minimum wage raise, and it went up to 220, I believe it was. A whole lot better, but not good enough. And again, I was 18 at the time, got married at 19, and we still bought a house 6 years later. So we did it on that little bit of money. Um, they're not. Retirement and Social Security. The baby boomer generation is also seen as benefiting from much more generous social safety net, including pensions, healthcare, and Social Security. I never worked in an industry where you got received a pension, so I can't really speak for that. I don't know how many companies. I know government jobs you can get pensions, but I don't know about any companies anymore, or how many would give out pensions. I'm not even sure if that's a thing anymore. um, Healthcare's always been a problem, and it'll always continue to be a problem. So I don't, it wasn't any cheaper than it is in today's standards. And as they age and retire, younger generations are worried about whether these programs will even be around for them due to the increasing strain they place on the economy. Now, I'm sure I can't be the only one that remembers this. They have been telling us, I think I started to really pay attention to it more when I was in my 50s, that the government was saying there's not going to be enough money in there for me to be able to get Social Security when the time came. And you kind of lived a little bit in you're not fear, but you're worried, just kind of a bit, hoping that this was going to be something that you could settle down and relax into. And so it's still being said, excuse me, it's still being said, and whether it'll happen, I don't know. And again, if something should happen to it, and I'm still around, I could live another 20 years and be in my 90s and say, 20 years, Social Security stops. What do I have then? I would have nothing by that time. So I'm not sure what they're thinking. They'd still be young enough to, or are aware of it now at a much younger age, that they can start saving and uh, look at maybe something like that possibly happening, and they can still continue to work. I'm not going to be able to work when I'm in my 80s and my 90s so much. So it's a little bit more worrisome for us. Climate change and the environmental impact. Oh, geez, I know they want to blame us for this climate change, and rather than go through all this, because that's exactly what they're saying, that they didn't feel that we took it seriously enough, and we let things go to crap. And but when we were growing up during the eras of smog and all that bad fumes out there, we were aware that it was there, but not aware that there was something that could be done until somebody made us aware and figured out what could be done. It can't be changed until it's realized, and then someone starts to come up with plans on it. So I'm going to let that one just go as it is, because nothing, we didn't know. Political and cultural shifts. Political stalemates. There's often a feeling among younger people that the political environment, shaped largely by boomers, is stagnant or even regressive. Younger generations are more likely to push for progressive policies on issues like climate change. Here we go again. LGBTQ rights, racial justice, and universal health care, but often face opposition from an older generation that may not share those same priorities. Could be somewhat true, maybe not. Priorities for different generations shifts. So while it may not be priorities that we think of, some of it's their priorities, because they want to make the case on all of those things. But we have different priorities that we're looking at now as we age. And it's not that we're against them. I'm not against any of those. Go for it. I think all of it is fair. It's just who you are and where you're raised. I don't know if it was the way I was raised or where I was raised, but we didn't look at people by color. We At least I know my family doesn't. I mean, none of us do. We don't even think about it. Never have. So that one's always been a difficult one for me, because to us, a person is a person. We're all the same. We didn't care about colors. Climate control. Uh, you know, Again, it's priorities. They're at an age that if they want to fight climate control and they want to do something more about it, then you do it. You don't back down, you do it. Technological change and adaptation. They want to get us for this all the time. The rapid pace of technological advancement has been a double edged sword. While younger generations have grown up with the internet and are more tech savvy, they also face challenges like the digital surveillance. So do we. The gig economy. So do we. And the erosion of privacy. So do we. We're all in the same boat. It's like, if you just remember, we're with you on a lot of this stuff. And it's not that our era had anything to do. We didn't have the technology back then. It's the younger generations where the technology came in. So um, put some mirrors up to your faces, people. It's not just the baby boomers. We didn't do this. We may have started some of it, but how it evolved and carried on uh, was done in younger generations also. So let's look at everything when we talk about stuff like that. Tech swabby, yeah, they're good on their phones. They can handle all that stuff, but it doesn't mean they're good on computers. I mean, if and I know there are some baby boomer seniors out there that never touched a computer in their lives because they didn't work in that type of environment. And the same is going to happen with um, any generation. If it's not a instrument of their job or their daily living, they're not going to know computers and all the software programs and all that to work in a business or anything. It's because it's just not something that they did. It's so that goes with every generation as far as who's tech savvy and who's not. And it doesn't matter, because if it didn't make a difference in what you were doing in your life, it didn't make a difference. Mental health and well-being. This is one that I really do like, because I think, as much as I don't like some of the things they do, I think they have a better understanding of this. But they had the freedom to have this, and still they're mad, so I don't understand. But they talk about work-life balance and burnout. Younger people are much more vocal about mental health and work-life balance, but many boomers were raised with the idea of hanging tough and working hard to climb the ladder. The generational difference can feel dismissive to younger generations who are now grappling with high levels of stress, anxiety, and burnout, often linked to the pressures of modern life and economic uncertainty. The older generation's views on work and mental health can feel out of touch. It's true. When you went to work, you were there to work, period. There was no ands, ifs, or buts. But we didn't have the luxury of being able to just freely always leave and go take our kids to the dentist, to the doctors. We had to learn how to work around that and try and get appointments later on in the day so that we didn't get in trouble. Our jobs were always felt like we were always on the line. You could get written up if you came into work 1 minute late. Even if you came back from lunch a minute late, you could get written up. You didn't you didn't have those kind of luxuries. We never were allowed to leave early unless it was an emergency, and even then they'd raise their eyebrow at us, and so we were trained. Let's just say we were trained. You're not trained, you're living your own life. We were trained that this is how we had to act and how we had to appreciate the fact we had a job. So we didn't have that life balance. We had the work, and boy, did we work. But we didn't have the luxury of the life balance. And if they needed you to stay late, you stayed late. It didn't matter if it was your child's recital or not. That's just the way it was back then. You will do that nowadays. So I'm not sure where the anxiety and the burnout is from. I understand that the housing market is horrible, but a lot of people still live at home nowadays, a lot of the younger generations. So we didn't have that opportunity. You turned 18, you're out of the house, you go. We didn't have that opportunity. So you have more good that's happening to you than you realize. And if you would start to think of that, you might lessen that anxiety that you're having. I don't know, but it could be part of it. And the last thing is cultural shifts in values, social values. Baby boomers were often raised in a time when social and political norms were quite different, and many are still resistant to changes regarding issues like, again, gender identity, racial equality, and the structure of the family. Younger generations are pushing for more inclusivity, diversity, and acceptance, which can feel like a direct clash with the values of the older generation. So again, it's a repeat on a repeat. It's just like we stated earlier. This is their priorities. They want to focus on this. It gives them some meaning to have some things to focus on, just like there were things we focused on in our generation that were our priorities, and it wasn't the older generation's priorities. And remember, not everybody likes the older generations don't always approve of things the younger generation does. And just like when we had the hippies and love and peace, the older generations just thought we were crazy and ridiculous, and it's that's just a generational thing, and the generations below us should realize it's always been that way. But do we accept you? Yes, we do. We accept what you're doing because we know what we did. So accept yourselves, be happy with what you have and what you're living today, because to me it looks like there's a lot of fun out there for younger generations, but maybe I look at life a little bit differently. So then they say at the very end, ultimately, younger generations feel like they have are being asked to work harder, deal with more economic instability, and accept a more uncertain future. And they felt it was changed and shaped by politics and choices made by the baby boomers. It's not necessarily a personal against boomers, but more the larger systematic issues that they've inherited. So that's basically what it boils down to. It's not they're really just not focusing on baby boomers, but I think in life there's lots of people that need to point fingers at other people, and I hope they understand that we realize that there are things they fight for a little bit different than what we would fight for, but it doesn't mean we're against anything that they're doing at all. So take care. I'm glad you stuck around to listen to what ChatGPT had to say about this whole thing. And if you like the video, go ahead and subscribe or like. And I will see you at the next one. Bye.